Our guest tonight is Michael Zervos. Michael is an Army veteran. He had a long career in law enforcement. He's always been a skeptic, but has found the paranormal interesting. He has worked at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. He's investigated with many teams and at some very notable locations. Michael is with us from the Las Vegas Soul Searchers. Good evening, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. How are you tonight?
Doing well, thank you.
Nice. I want to throw it out there real quick. Let's wait till we have a few more people watch, and then I'll throw it out there
Cool.
to hang out. So, pretty good week. Had a good week.
Yeah, it's been good, man. Going by quick, so I'll take it.
This last Saturday, we got to, you and I and Gina and your wife and one of your kids, we went to Estes for Bigfoot Days. Got to see our friend Bigfoot Kenny down there.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It was a great time. More and more, I've always believed there was a Bigfoot, but more and more I'm opening up to it, knowing that they have an actual scientist, like PhD doctor scientist on Bigfoot or Expedition Bigfoot, makes it a lot more legit to me. I mean, they can say it and they can, but when you really hear her, like we got to hear her speak for like an hour, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this is
what an amazing person.
Maria. Yeah. Solo expeditions into the Amazon, living out of a dugout canoe,
Right.
in search of,
sleeping off a cliff in those hanging beds.
Yeah, no, thank you.
With one metal stake holding you, and I'm like, no.
I do a lot of stupid stuff. I'm not sleeping in a cliff tent. Not happening.
Right. And then Russell Accord. What a monster.
Yeah, that guy is a beast.
Anyone who's watched the show knows his backpack, and he's up there, and I'll go out there with my little backpack. And I was like, little backpack.
Yeah. He was in the infantry, I think, 16 years. And he'll throw 100+ pound pack on. And they're like, hey, we need you to go to the top of that mountain and set up thermal. And then once he's up there, he'll be like, oh, yeah, I see something 2 valleys away. They're like, can you get to it? He was like, yeah, give me a few. And then he's right back down and going through. I mean, the guy's, very impressive what he can do. Yeah. Absolute cool. Sweetheart of a person, though.
Yeah. Nicest guy.
This last weekend was the first time I've got to meet him. We've met Maria a couple times, but he really nice guy to talk to.
Yeah. I think it brought Gina around a little bit, thinking, with an actual scientist and her credentials and how she got into it. Like, I just had to take a science class. So I took anthropology. And then the next thing you know, she's a doctor who specializes in primates. And I'm like, wow.
So such an amazing path. And that she's on the show and that she feels, a large, primate species is, practical or, believable in the US is, really cool.
Right. Well, tonight's guest, Michael Zervos, he's got some great places that he's been and worked at a very interesting place. We're going to talk with him about like haunted Las Vegas and some of the locations he's been to and how he got started. So let's bring him on in. Good evening, Michael. How you doing?
Hey, Michael.
Good evening. Just one small correction. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, not Army.
I swore what I saw was Army. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Them fighting words.
This guy over here, you were Army, right?
Yes, I was Army. Yep.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yep. We can talk crap with amongst each other, but you do it to one of us, you get it all of us. So
exactly. Exactly.
Well, welcome to the show. Either way,
Thank you. No, thank you so much.
we always bring people in, and hey, Kenny, yes, I see your. Thanks for coming. It was a great time up there. We always bring people in. Oh gosh, now I'm getting ridiculed over here. Yes, Gina was an Air Force veteran. That's my wife. So is an Air Force veteran. Was
Nice.
is. So we get to talk a little bit before we start the show, and you've been to some great places and have a great little resume of stuff. In your little bio, it mentioned being a skeptic. Are you still a skeptic?
No, not anymore. When I grew up, my youngest son, he's 28 now, but he grew up watching the Ghost Adventures. And I'd sit there and watch the shows with him, and I'd be shaking my head going, "Oh no, come on, really?" And even at work, guys at work, because I worked a lot, I spent some time in the jails and the prisons. And when I was in the jails, the guys at work saying, "Oh, this unit's haunted, man. We've seen this," and I'd be sitting there going, "Oh, you're full of, you know what?" And they're going, "No, no, really." So when I retired, my buddy, who was already he was retired and he was already doing the paranormal stuff. I started doing it with him, and then I started experiencing stuff that I can't explain. And that's when I started getting into it, because I got into it because I want to know. I'm not a skeptic anymore. I've experienced too much stuff to be a skeptic now. So all that's in the past. But just from my first investigation, my first real investigation, the Clown Motel in Tonopah here in Nevada, and my first experience, and it was like, whoa. I started freaking out. It felt like I walked into some kind of energy unbeknownst to me, and the hair on my arm was sticking up, my jaws were tingling all the way through my jaws. And then when we did the investigation that night, I was running the SLS camera, and the mirror by where I had the experience looked like a portal. There were the figures were jumping in and out that mirror all night long. They'd come out,
Wow.
they'd look around, they'd disappear back into the mirror, and here they come. And so that just solidified that I actually walked into something. Maybe it's like I walked into him, and he didn't know, and we surprised each other or something. I don't know, but that was my first real experience.
So let's go back just a little bit before that. You worked in the
Mhm.
jails. Those guys were talking about that. Is that what kind of steered you that way, or what steered you towards the paranormal?
Just wanting to know, after years with my son watching, and then my friend is actually doing it, and he's telling me about some of the stuff he was doing. So I wanted to experience it for myself and find out really if it was BS or if there was something to it. And that's how I started getting into it. And then I realized, no, this isn't BS. There's something to this.
Right.
So that's how I started getting more and more involved in it. Then when I first came here, I worked with a team, CISPRO, and then I branched out and started my own. I started Z Dog, and then at the behest of a friend of mine, Janice Oberding, she's a paranormal. She's like was worked with Zach when he was first starting out, and she's a paranormal author. She suggested you changing the name. She says, use the Las Vegas sign. There's no copyrights on it. It's just open for everybody to use. And she goes, I suggest you use that. So my partner Kelly and we came up with the Las Vegas Soul Searchers. We did we looked and there was nobody using it, so we kind of took it as our own, and that's how we
Yeah.
came up with our logo and the name.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's the such a visibly
Recognizable.
known,
Yep.
yeah, sign. So yeah, I mean, you see it and you know right off where you're at.
Yeah. But and that's how it is. And then I just started getting into it, and I started buying more and more equipment, and it's like tattoos. Once you buy, you can't stop. Every
Nope.
time you see something new, you got to get it. So
Right.
I've spent
Yeah.
thousands of dollars on equipment.
Yeah. I get it. I am definitely more the equipment based. Gina is our resident empath, and gets us going there as far as like where we can lead our questions, and tells us, maybe who's there with us and stuff. but I am definitely more the equipment person. I think Jason probably leans that way a little more
Yeah.
towards the equipment side.
Well-
Recently we added a new member, and she kind of rides the fence on both, I believe. Like, she seems to kind of feel stuff too. So,
And that's where I'm at. I mean, I've noticed in some of these investigations, I start feeling emotions.
yeah,
And there's been a couple times where I had to get up and walk away from the investigation because I was crying.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, and then I can walk into a room and I'll tell them I don't feel anything in here, or I can walk into a room and say, yeah, there's something here. And then we start investigating, and we're getting all kinds of evidence. And the places where I say I don't feel anything, we don't get a lot. We don't get much, you know? So
yeah.
I'm not saying I'm an empath, but I'm like equipment, but I feel things too.
I think
And
everyone
especially,
kind of does. Like, your body just knows if there's something there.
yeah,
You know?
Well, and I think being ex-military too, you know, we all kind of learn in the military to trust your gut, right? And then so that kind of gets ingrained in you a little more than, you know, some people. So you're a little more attuned to your surroundings, you know, more hyper aware. So you're picking up on every little thing.
yes, definitely. Oh, and working, I worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons for a few years and spent some time in the county jails and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So you
even
got to watch
in
your back
there,
there. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So you came out to Vegas, started investigating more, and then you hit like some of the most notable places there are. The one, you know, there's a few that stuck out to me. Winchester Mystery House. You've been there.
Yeah.
You got to investigate that, right?
Yeah, that was actually 2 hours away from my home at where I live, where I came from in California. Yeah, and I investigated that with it was a big group, and it was after hours, and it was interesting, but besides like Sarah Winchester's room itself, where I was getting K2 meter spikes on her bed and some noises, I don't know if it was just the amount of people in there, but we weren't getting a lot of evidence. We got more in the seance what we did downstairs than we did the actual investigation.
Yeah.
So there,
You had mentioned the seance was with Patty Negri.
yes,
Most people know Patty. Yep.
yes.
Nice.
And I mean, she was nailing. I mean, the group around us, she would say things, and somebody go, "Oh my God, no, that pertains to me," you know. So
Wow. Yeah.
it was pretty intense.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get to the Winchester house, and you know, even if not for a paranormal investigation, just the history, and you know, it's such a kind of an ominous yet famous place, right? Just I think being able to walk through it and you know see it for what it is would be amazing.
Well, I think if you were there just in a smaller group, you would probably get more things. I think the bigger the group, the less evidence you're bound to find because of the noise, and
Yep.
you know, I don't think they're more open to communicate with you if there's just chaos all around you and 100 people so trying to communicate with them.
Yep.
And that's just the way I feel.
No, absolutely. I can totally see that. Yeah, when you got 30 or 40 people asking questions at once, who do you answer, right? Like,
Yeah. I think it's probably just overwhelming for us and them.
yep.
For sure.
So
Another one that sticks out to me is Washoe Club. That is somewhere that we have talked about wanting to get out to.
Yep.
yeah, I've been there 3 times. I've done 3 investigations there, and every time I've had experiences like, I don't know if you know who Debbie and Mark Constantino are. They're EVP specialists. They were on Ghost Adventures a lot of times. My friend Janice Overding, she was friends with them, and she toured the country doing paranormal with them. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the murder suicide that happened, but Mark, long story short, Mark killed Debbie, and then he killed himself.
Yep.
So and the Washoe Club was one of her favorite places. So we were sitting around the card room, the card table in the Washoe Club, and I have a paralantern, and I find I can use that, and it's pretty useful device in communications. So I was doing that, and I was asking questions, and then I started pertaining my questions to Debbie, and it starts going crazy, right? So I'm asking questions. The Debbie is issuing, it'd go nuts, and then somebody go, "Is Mark here?" And it'd beep or light up, and then so it was like that. And then all of a sudden, like about 15 minutes into this, I had to walk away from the table. I had to get up and walk away because the day that happened, I had just visited Debbie's grave down in Reno, and I did an EVP Obulus session at her grave, and there was a couple things that popped up that were kind of relevant to the case or the situation. And then when I got back to the Washoe Club that night, I feel I was communicating with Debbie, and so I just got a whole bunch of emotions and just started feeling like really sick to my stomach and hot. And so I walked away and went to the window, tried to cool down a little bit. Then I came back and, people are still at the card table, asking questions. And then one of the girls I was investigating with, she's standing here and she asked me a question and I just started crying. I mean, tears and crying. And I'm going telling everybody, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. But I was physically crying just at a question.
Yeah.
So, and then the next time I went back, we were doing an EVP session, and Kelly goes, "Mark, are you here with us?" And a female voice comes across, sound like Debbie, faint voice, "Mark." And then we said, "Mark." And we're going, wow. And then so we're doing the next EVP was a male voice, and it said Michael, my name. And I'm going,
Wow.
oh, wow. And I started getting chills and stuff. And so it's very active. I spent my group the last time I was there just a couple months ago. One person's got to stay in when somebody leaves, because you got to lock the door from the inside when people leave, and then when you get done, you padlock it from the outside so you're all done. So somebody has to stay in and lock the door. I was locked in there. My group took off. I was in this place in the dark in the middle of the night, 2 hours by myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm walking around. I did a video. I have all the videos of the stuff I'm talking about are on my YouTube and my TikTok, and so if anybody wants to check it out, they're there. But yeah, I did a video of me walking around the Washoe Club in the middle of late night, early morning by myself.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
it was kind of eerie. Yeah.
That's way cool.
And then so Washoe Club's a great place to go. And wintertime's better to go, because wintertime you can get it for like $200 for the whole night for the group. And in the busy months it's $400 for a night. So it's a good place. And wintertime's a good place to go. A little chilly, but it's worth it.
Looks like Mike Peterson's asking, did you catch anything when you were videoing? Anything we should look for in those?
I think I have some SLS camera stuff on there. We heard voices with our own ears, really faint voices a few times, but no shadow figures or anything. Mostly like the SLS. And like with the SLS, I always map it, and then I try to debunk whatever I'm tracking. And then if it starts responding to you,
yeah,
then you have something. Because one time I was using a Washoe Club in the card room, and I was getting something. We're all getting excited, and then I'm moving it up and down, and come to find out it was mapping the open beam. So
sometimes you have to look for that stuff.
I'm always. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We had a great SLS hit. One of the places we investigate, we had something on the ceiling, and Jason was standing underneath of it, and he's like, "Can you give me a high five?" And you could see on the SLS screen where it reached down and gave him a high five.
Nice.
It's really
that was cool. I love the SLS.
Well,
hey,
I just bought
real quick while we're talking about that. One of our sponsors is Horn Paranormal Research.
Oh, up here in Mesquite, yeah.
Yep. And they designed something, so we want to just throw their little commercial in here. This is the perfect time for that.
Introducing the latest generation of SLS cameras from Horn Paranormal. The new FS SLS camera features SLS mapping and full spectrum capabilities with built-in IR lighting. See more at hornparanormal.com or hornparanormal.shop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of horn, I had just bought the XLS camera. I have an XLS now.
I was just
And-
to bring that up, man. Oh my God, I love the
Yeah.
XLS.
Oh yeah, I've only used it once, so I haven't really had an opportunity to because I just got it like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then Horn hit me up on Facebook, and they're going, yeah, we're right up the road. You should have bought it from us, but I didn't. I wasn't familiar with them or knew they existed at the time. So now I know Horn exists. I'll probably get some of my equipment from them now.
Great
Yeah, they're
people.
wonderful.
We have their XLS and, sponsoring the show. They got us one of those full spectrum SLSs.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
It's
Such
really
a cool
cool.
piece of equipment.
Nice. Yeah, I've used it once, and I like it better than the SLS. I just like the whole graphics of it a lot better, and I understand it's supposed to be a little bit more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
Yep.
definitely get better resolution versus,
Yeah.
going with LiDAR versus the tracking dots from the old
Yeah.
SLS.
I just like the 3D aspect of it all.
Oh, it's so cool. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we were in
Definitely.
pretty much a pitch black room, and I don't remember what mode it was where you could look, but Aaron was kind of scanning around the room, and you could actually see like everyone's facial features. You could see from across the room, that I was a guy that wears glasses. Like it's just so cool.
Yeah, I love it. I got to get out and start using it more. I'm going to probably use that more than the SLS now.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
One of the other locations that you had that kind of stuck out to me is Asylum 49 up there in Utah.
Yep.
Yeah, Thule. Yeah.
Yeah, Thule.
Yeah. So when I went there, it was even more kind of spooky because they were setting it up for Halloween, a haunted house. So they had all the displays out and stuff. But there was a couple of interesting things that happened to me there. Like my buddy Brian from Cispro Paranormal, we were sitting in a room, and we're just doing an investigation. I have my Ovilus out, and we're doing an investigation. You know how you try to communicate, ask questions and stuff. And it was really nothing. It was really quiet. And we were in there for a good 20-25 minutes trying to communicate with something. Ovilus, not one word pops up on the Ovilus, right? So Brian says, hey, we're going to go. Obviously, you don't want to try to talk to us tonight, but we'll come back and hopefully we can talk to you next time. And I started getting out of my seat, and 2 words popped up on the Ovilus: Mike, pray. And I told Brian, Mike, pray. The only 2 words that popped up in 20 minutes: Mike, pray. And I started, how you get chills when something, and I go, yeah, let's go. All right, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. I don't want to hear that stuff because of what happened to me at Jamestown. I go, okay, I'm cool with this. Peace out. But yeah, and then there was the normal stuff. You hear sounds moving, and so. But and then again, that was an area where there was a lot of people. I mean, not a lot, but 20 people, 25 people. So it's like I said, it's hard to investigate. That's why I like to keep my group small, because the evidence is better.
Yeah. Your little Ovilus story. It's like when the Ovilus pops off with run. It's like, do I look like I'm built to run?
Right? I'm not running anywhere, man.
No, I'm 61 years old with a fake hip. I ain't running nowhere.
Right?
Oh, man. All right. So you move from California to Vegas, and you decide you're going to apply for Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. How does that go for you?
I love the place. I enjoyed working there. Like I said, I was there for just under a year. The house itself is amazing. The house, and I love the interactions with the guests, because everybody's excited to be there. Everybody that comes and visits that place wants to be there. They're excited to be there. And it was just an awesome experience through the house and the guests alone. Everybody, and then we're pulling people out of the house all the time because they're getting ready to pass out and they're having stuff they can't explain. So we bring them out and set them down, give them water and stuff. I've done 1 RIP tour, and I've done 3 flashlight tours there. And on the flashlight tours, you actually get to investigate. The tour guides are in the common area, but you actually get to investigate. And the first time I was there, I was with my oldest son. We walked in, and I hadn't done anything, so I wasn't familiar with the layout of the house. This before I started working there,
Okay.
and I wasn't familiar with the layout of the house or anything. So we go in the room and we shut the door, and we're doing a spirit box session, right? And you got to understand, it's dark in there. The only lights are on are the exit lights and a night light in the hallway. None of the rooms have lights in them. And we're in there and doing a spirit box session, and we're asking questions, and clear as day across the spirit box, and it sounded like a draw. Gacy. And my son goes, that just said Gacy? And I'm freaking out. I go, yeah, it just said Gacy. And my son turns on the flashlight and he says, turn around, Dad. And I turned around and my back was only like 8 inches away from the John Wayne Gacy display.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So we were in the serial killer room. Yeah. And I, unbeknownst to me, I was standing right there in front of this display, his display, and he came across a spirit box, clear as day. Gacy.
Wow. Gacy.
Wow.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. Just like that. It was clear as day. No mistaking what was said.
I tell
I'm
you what,
wondering if any of
had
our
a
watchers,
impact
any of our-
on me there was the Kansas City serial killer, the one where he strapped people to the cot and would.
Oh, yeah.
somebody.
I forget his name, but yeah, I know where you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an intense exhibit.
Yeah.
That's where, as the first time we went, Gina and I went, that was the room. I was telling you beforehand that I had an experience there. And when I was talking about it, I was getting goosebumps. And when we were doing that, it was Virginia who was leading the tour for us. She's an awesome tour guide. She was in Kansas City during the time he was doing flea markets and stuff. She was telling us the story, and she leaves and she goes, just pull the door shut as you come out. I grabbed the door because I'm the last one. I'm one of those where I want to make sure people are out of stuff when we're doing stuff. So I grab the door and I pull it, and it ripped out of my hand.
Oh, wow.
I ran past my wife and past the lady in front of her. I wasn't having any part of that in that place. Yeah. And as we talk about it, here it is again.
Yeah.
Such a crazy place.
Well, it's like the last time I was in there, I don't know if when you guys were there, if they had the Bella Lugosi mirror in the basement.
Oh,
but
no.
it's in the basement now.
Wow.
And we were down there, and there was like 4 of us investigating, and I was standing right next to the mirror. It was right like 5 inches away from my shoulder. And we're talking, and I felt like some pressure on my chest, and I fell backwards into the wall. If the wall hadn't been there, I would have hit the floor.
Wow.
So yeah. And then, I told you about my son being scratched in the demon house, 3 scratches across his back. So I've had experiences there every time. And people come in just for the normal tours, and some people, it affects them in a negative way. We have to pull them off the tour and bring them outside and let them get air, and we offer them water and stuff. But it happens more often than not there.
Yeah, and I'm not a get woozy type of person. I don't really get dizzy, lightheaded, when dealing with stuff. But for some reason, when I walked into Dr. Kevorkian's exhibit,
the van,
yep, I thought I was going to pass out, and I don't know why, because I've never had any like bad judgment towards him. I don't, I know he's Dr. Death, but I think, number one, the way they displayed it there at the museum, I think was really well done, playing his music and showing, what he did for his patients. So not really sure why I got such a bad reaction walking into that room, but yeah, that one almost put me on my butt.
Well, what was cool about the museum is people would send in articles. They would send them in, and we'd get them before we bring them in the house, and they'd sit out in our little security area. And I worked Tuesdays, and Tuesdays the museum was closed. So the director, he's on day shift, I was on swing shift. He goes, hey, we just got a new doll. It was kind of an Indian doll. And he goes, read the letter, and if you want, you can, play with the doll. Because I always bought equipment, even though I didn't go in the house on Tuesdays. I would do outside areas and see. And so brought the doll out, and I was sitting there at the desk, and I was doing a K2, EMFs, and I'd ask questions, and the thing was spiking. The whole time I had her out, it would spike. I'd ask a question, it'd spike. And actually, not everything that's sent in winds up in the house, but that doll did. She wound up in the doll room, and I believe she's still there today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So very interesting.
I'm looking at Mike's question over here. Mike Peterson asked, do any of you find that skeptics or non-believers have stronger experiences than a member of an investigation team would have? I think that all comes down to, even as a skeptic, you're going to believe in something, either that it's there or not. I think that if you do think that there's stuff, but you're still skeptical of it, you may have a better experience than totally not believing.
I think, yeah, that's how I feel. I think if, like me, I wanted to find out for myself. So when I first started doing it, I was a skeptic, but I was open to finding out. But I think people who all just don't want to find out, don't have any desire to find out, I don't think they're going to have any real positive or any experiences at all. Because I think the negativity alone, they just don't want to deal with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think if you don't go in there with at least an open mind and trying to find out if it's real or not, then you're probably not gonna have any. Because I still have people today, even when I get an EVP and there's only two of us in the room, and the whole town's closed down and there's not a noise anywhere else, and we get a third voice, people are still, no, that could have been from here or there.
Yep.
So there's nothing you can say or do to those kind of people that are gonna convince them any different.
Yeah, I mean, if they're completely shut off to even thinking about it, then they're always going to find some way to debunk it.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's funny that we talked about that because we just held a public event with a skeptic night where we wanted skeptics to come in and investigate with us. Out of everyone that came, there was one that was skeptic.
Yep.
And when we were leaving at the end of the night, we asked him, we sat down, we discussed what happened over the night, and we asked if he was still skeptical. And he goes, I probably have some things to think about, with what happened tonight.
Yeah.
So,
and that's how it was with me when I first started experiencing stuff. I'm going, okay. And then I just became more open to it. And then after the Jamestown, you can watch the video on the Jamestown and you'll see what happened to me there. I think it was a possession or something, because I don't know. All I know is what's on the video. But that's when I started getting, after that experience is when I started feeling the emotions, and I started feeling the heaviness when I walked into the rooms and stuff. So that whatever happened to me at Jamestown made me more sensitive to what I'm doing in the paranormal.
And that's the Jamestown Hotel that you're talking about?
Yeah, in California.
Oh, okay.
The actual video is on, like I said, my channels. And when you see the guy in there, it's me. Back then, like, this is like almost 4 years ago, I was 324 pounds. Now I'm down to like 190, 195. So that is me in there. That big guy is me.
wow.
I got a long beard. I got my hair was longer, and I look like a big old fat biker dude.
Nice.
Coming back to the museum, what would you say is your favorite display or favorite area of that place? And I think I'm gonna ask Jason too, and then I think I'll go over mine. We've all been there, and then I'm wondering if anyone that's in our chat has been there. So, Mike, what's your favorite area or of the museum?
I like the basement. I really like it down there.
The basement.
What's that?
I haven't got to go in the basement. Both times we've been there, it's been shut off to the public. So it's I don't even know the last time we were there. It's been quite a while.
It's really dark, and during the normal tours, they have a spirit box and a REM pod down there. But on the flashlight tour, they don't. Those are turned off. And I mean, even in the daylight, it's dark down there. And there's like a pentagram that was there from before Zach owned the house is still on the floor. and now they have the Bela Lugosi mirror down there.
Okay.
And so there's been some things that's a lot of people have had a lot of experiences down there.
Yeah. So last time I was there, the Lugosi mirror was still on the main floor in one of the first rooms you went into.
Yeah, last time I was there, they moved it down to the basement.
Okay. Jason.
Yeah,
What would
I did the RIP tour, where they let you go down into the basement. I had nothing there. That's, I was expecting, almost the floor to open up, and but absolutely nothing. But I tell you what got me was the Dybbuk box room. And I don't even have an experience, around going into that room, except for just how heavy and ominous it felt in there. The environment was just completely different. Seeing these Dybbuk boxes with, enclosed with the glass with the Hebrew writing inscribed on it with a circle of sage and then a circle of salt, and just very, very intense. So yeah, I'd have to say the Dybbuk box room for me.
Well, I think from my understanding that it never used to be encased like that, and it was just so overwhelming the experience that people were have. I heard they decided to put it in the case. Even Post Malone, that thing messed him up.
Yeah.
So he had a bad experience with that box.
I think that's
supposedly they've caused strokes and deaths from people that have owned them, and yeah.
Well, I've had people come out like on 3 different occasions from the Dybbuk box room with bloody noses. They had their nose just starts bleeding, and they had to come out of the tour.
Wow, I could
So
see
that
that.
happened.
Yeah.
In the time I was there, I think I witnessed that like 3 times.
wow.
It's crazy to think the stuff like when we were talking with Ryan last week about the Warrens Museum, and it's crazy to think of how much stuff that powerful could be out in the world just sitting on someone's shelf, sitting in someone's basement and have no idea what they have. But these people, the Warrens, Zach, have collected this stuff and brought it in and, made sure that it can't really harm anybody anymore. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Well, a lot of times people having like troubles in their houses and they don't know what it is. And a lot of times it just comes down to one item in the house causing all the chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
So
someone
go ahead.
picking something up at a flea market or at a garage sale or estate sale.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're getting.
Yeah. And if you track it down and you find out it could be this and you pull it out of the house, a lot of times it's gone. Whatever was happening is gone. It's just that sometimes one item can cause chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. You two talked about yours. The Ed Gein room was really cool, I thought, with the cauldron. And of course, he themes, for anyone that is watching that hasn't been there, he themes all the rooms. So it looks like the barn and the lights, and it was a cool place when you know the history of Ed Gein and everything, and that cauldron's right there. Like, who was in the cauldron?
Yeah.
I was gonna say what, but really it's who.
Yep.
And then Peggy the doll. When we went into Peggy's room, she said my name, and then it felt like a sheet came down, and like you could feel like where it would fall and then come across the ears and then the shoulders. It was like this sheet of like a net or a sheet coming down. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So yeah, those are probably 2 of the coolest rooms for me that I like there. So.
I can agree with you on the Peggy room for sure. Cause when I did my tour, we were talking about this before the show. I made sure I was the last person into the room so I could spend a little bit more time. It's pretty structured, the tour, but I just kind of hung back just a little. And so I said, hey, Peggy, just wanted to say hi and show my respect. And across the spirit box, she said, get the F out. And I said, okay, no problem. I'm going to leave now. Just thank you for your time and get the F out. I was like, okay, I'm leaving.
And like I said earlier, she's not the first one. You're not the first one she's ever said that to. If she doesn't like you, she will tell you to get the F out.
Yeah, she did not like me for some reason. So maybe she didn't like me kind of lingering behind and not doing what I should have done and just,
But
said hi and walked on through. But
but if you guys ever are back in, and like I said, it's only 2 nights a week and it's after hours, I suggest the flashlight tour. It's it's a little pricey, but you get to investigate. You can bring in like your Ovilus, your K2s, your digital voice. You can't take photography, any movies, any video or any pictures. But
Wow.
anything that doesn't record, you can bring with you and do your own investigation. And I'm gonna tell you what, you're gonna end up with something. You're gonna experience something there.
That's
I've always
pretty
wanted to
cool.
do the flashlight tour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
something that we will definitely have to look at as a team heading out that way and doing that kind of tour there.
Yeah,
yeah,
that wouldn't be a bad little winter trip, right? Go out and it's still like, 60, 70 degrees. And
Heck yeah. Go
definitely.
out and race a NASCAR race car again too.
yeah, heck
But
yeah.
like I said, I have no association with the museum. I've done 3 flashlight tours and I paid full price for every single one of them. That's how much I like it and I enjoy it.
Gina's
It's
all
it's
for it. She's like team building.
Exactly. Team building.
it'll be team build, all right.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
we'll go do the machine, or the museum, we'll go race some race cars, and then maybe go out and do the machine gun experience they have out there too. It's been a while
oh
since I've
yeah.
shot one of them.
There's so much
All
cool
right.
stuff out that way.
Well, if you guys are ever out this way, hit me up.
Absolutely, man.
We'd love to, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Speaking of that, let's talk about just some of the haunted stuff around Las Vegas besides the museum.
Yeah. I did one a few months ago, the Oasis Motel. And one room in particular at their hotel. And it's like a shady old, I wouldn't stay the night there, sleep there or anything. And it's right in between the Strip and Fremont Street on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Hmm.
But one room in particular, room 20 at this hotel, 2 known people passed away just within 4 months of each other there. And one of them was Stu Unger, and he was the youngest world champion winner of poker, the world championship of poker winner, twice in 80 and 81. And he died there in November of 98. And then 4 months later, I don't know if you know who I'm trying to think of the name. Strickland. Actor Strickland. He was in the TV show Suddenly Susan.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched that show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was with Brooke Shields. He
Okay.
passed away in the same room just 4 months after Unger died in there. So I did the room with a married couple who's into the paranormal, my paranormal partner Kelly, and we were in there and we had I put like REM pods or paralanterns. I put them throughout, and it's a small room. I had a couple in the closet, and in the closets they started going nuts. And so I set up the SLS camera and I went in there and I had 2 figures, one on each side of the closet. And they were, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Oh no, I just said
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were kind of interacting with what I was talking to them about, and I'd say, reach out, touch my hand. And it looked like one was reaching out. And then I had one sitting on the toilet in the bathroom, and that one just starts going nuts too. And we went in there and you could feel something really heavy in the bathroom. And we didn't really get any EVPs, but we started doing the Estes method. You're familiar with the Estes, right?
Yeah.
So the wife, we sent her in the bathroom with, I got Bose noise canceling headphones, and we sent her in there with the headphones in the spirit box, and we were out in the bedroom area. We just started asking questions, and she'd shout out a couple things, and they didn't really pertain. And then it's toward the end of the night, and you know how you start getting tired, and you start saying stupid stuff sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how.
Absolutely.
I don't know how, but we got on the subject of boobs, breasts, and
Well,
And
you are in Naked City, right? I mean, come
yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. This hotel's right in the middle of Naked City. But the husband, we were talking, and then the husband goes, "Is one boob like the other one?" And she hadn't said nothing for like a few minutes, and then right after he said that, she yells out, "Yes!" So we were laughing, we were rolling, dude. And you can actually hear that one. I have that audio on my on my sites, but that was pretty funny. So that's a good place. The only place thing is, it's you got to get there, and they're kind of shady with how they operate the hotel room. So they wouldn't let me book it the day before. And then when I went there the next day, oh, we got somebody in there. And I said, well, you told me to come back this morning. So he went and talked to the guy and moved him to another room just so I could have that room. But the lobby of this place, you know how it's not a normal hotel lobby, it's a smoke shop.
Oh,
Oh,
geez. So very, very Vegas.
Yeah, very Naked City, Vegas.
yeah.
But it's an interesting room, just the history alone of that hotel.
That's cool, because Aaron and I have always said that, we get some of our best evidence not when we're, sitting there kind of grilling the spirits, but like when we take that breath and we're just sitting there as a team,
Yeah.
kind of laughing and joking, and
Laughing
that
and
energy
joking.
change. Yep. And then that's
Yep.
when we get some really cool stuff.
Yeah. And she just shouted out, was one boob looked like the other. And she just shouted out from the other room,
Yep.
yes.
Oh,
So,
man.
that was a good time. We were rolling on that one. And also the Apache Hotel, which is part of Binion's.
Okay.
And, Binion's for the most part is pretty much closed down as a hotel, but the rooms at the Apache, and it's only 4 stories, but there's only one room on the room 400. And that one, you have to go up to the 3rd floor because the elevator doesn't go up there. And then on the 3rd floor, you got to take a little stairway up, and you walk up, and it dead ends into a door in front of you. And to the right is the door to room 400. Well, the door that you dead end into opens up to the old count room, and they don't let you go back there, but they got a room in there that had a draining system because, the old mob stuff,
Yep.
so the hose and draining. And so a lot of
Wow.
stuff happened back in that room right next to this room 400. And like I said, it's the only room on that floor. And then, so we went in there, and a lot of outside noise, so we couldn't really do EVPs because you're right on Fremont Street, and the bands are playing on the stages, and you can hear them just booming into the room. So
Yeah.
if you ever decide to do it, I would do it early in the morning after the band shut down and stuff. But we were doing the Estes method there, and I was in the closet, and I had a REM pod next to me, and Kelly was out in the bedroom area, and she was asking questions. And all of a sudden, from the corner of my eye, I see my REM pod start flashing. And right as it starts flashing, I felt like something brushed my shoulder. And I jumped out of that closet, and oh my God, Kelly, something just touched me. And then we were playing music, and the parent lantern was responding to the music. So
Wow.
it was like happy that we were playing the music. So very interesting. And I recommend it. And if you rent this room for the night, they even down in the lobby, they even got a little packet you can check out with some, like K2 meters in it and stuff, because they know
Oh, that's
people
cool.
come up. Yeah,
That's cool.
so you can actually get a couple paranormal tools checked out when you rent that room. But
That's
it's
pretty
very
sick.
interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting.
What kind of music were you playing that got the reaction?
We were kind of playing like the 40s, like the Andrews Sisters, and stuff like that. Back, it would be back in the days, 40s and
Yep.
50s, early 50s,
Very
and
cool.
it was responding to the music. Yeah, so
Wow.
I recommend that room. It's very interesting, and it's still in its original form. Even the furniture and the radio and stuff, it's still looks like old school, like it would back in the late 40s, early 50s.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, it has been great having you on. pretty cool. Vegas stuff and all the places you've been. You know, you start getting a few more some of those other places you want to come back on and talk about them. We're more than happy to have you back on.
Okay, yeah, anytime. Anytime. You know how to
Nice.
find me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. When we get out that way, we're going to hit you up and we'll get into one of those places and do a good investigation.
Definitely. You know, we can go to Oasis, we can go to the Apache. I can try to come up with something else, and maybe even a flashlight tour at the Haunted Museum would be awesome.
Oh,
I'd go
Get in
again.
there,
Yep.
all of
I'd
us
go
and you,
again.
and yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do that. And I think the Apache, yeah, something about just that old school 40s and 50s Vegas, you know,
Yeah. And
investigating
like
a room that's like that with the count room next door. I would love that.
and like I said, it's part of Binion's now, but Binion's the rooms are closed down from above the lobby all the way to the top floor. And the only thing open on the top floor is the steakhouse that they just reopened. So all those rooms in Binion are just vacant. I'd love to get in just up in there and do a ghost hunt.
I think Zach did. I think Ghost Adventures did an investigation in those rooms, didn't they?
They did, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, Ghost Adventures has a lot more access and stuff that I can get into.
Right. Yeah, we understand that one too.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thanks for coming on.
All right.
Like I said before, if you want to hang out in the green room, you're more than welcome to. We're getting ready to make that big announcement that we posted about. Don't go anywhere, guys. Thanks again, Michael.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate it, and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too.
Oh, you know, I say it every week. We have some of the best guests.
We
you
really
know.
do. Yeah.
1 week we had a cancellation. We threw it out there, and I swear 20 people hit us up, and he was one of them. He's like,
Yep.
"You want me on? I'll come on right now." And I was like, "We got that filled, but let me get you scheduled."
Yep.
You know?
See, and that's the para unity that, you know, I've come to hope and expect from people in the field. Just all, you know, just stepping right up to help out, you know, other
That
teams.
is the para unity. That's going to lead us into our big announcement. Over this past Sunday, we were hit with 2 emails, 2 messages through Facebook in less than 24 hours, and they expected us just to jump right on it about the Paranomalies name and the Paranomalies podcast. You know, we've been doing this for 6 months now. We started mid-October. We've had some great guests. We love our watchers. We thank you all for coming and watching us. We're not going anywhere, believe me.
Nope.
They started bringing up trademark stuff and time that they've had, you know, a name close to this. You know, I am not the person sitting behind the trademark desk.
Yep.
I don't know how close we are to them. I'm not going to drop names because that's not what we do. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter at this point. It's
Right. Unfortunately, just give me just.
But yeah, we
unfortunately,
did our due diligence when you know, standing up the Paranomalies podcast, you know, to the best of our abilities with Google, you know, and other searches out there.
Yeah, and anything close, and you know, you can't catch everything. Unfortunately, they're far enough away that Old West vigilante justice just won't do it.
Not this time, unfortunately.
So we took the higher road, and we have changed the name and the logo to the Paranomalies podcast. So at this point, I'm going to have Jason go ahead and pull that up, and he will show you the new logo and new name in, let's just say 3, 2, 1. And he got muted. So unraveling.
So yes, we are now known as Unraveling the Darkness. Sorry, when I presented it, it auto muted me. So yeah, Aaron and I spent a lot of time thinking, you know, what kind of comprises what we do, and we talk about so many different topics with so many different types of people that Unraveling the Darkness really fit, you know, what we do and what we enjoy doing. Took some time, and we found a local artist. You know,
Bill Truitt out of Douglas, Wyoming. I saw this and showed it to Jason, and both of us were like, "Wow, that's pretty much what we like." And I asked Bill, what would you like for this? And he's like, use it. So Bill, thank you for letting us
Yeah,
use
thank you, Bill.
that artwork.
Yeah, and it's cool. We've got the jackalope here in the foreground, which if people know, was actually I guess I'll say created or designed in Douglas, Wyoming, back in the day by a taxidermist. And Douglas is the jackalope
What?
capital of the
They're
world.
real.
They are real, but they just had to recreate one because they couldn't catch them. They're so damn fast.
Right.
Yeah, so we really thought the jackalope was fitting for us as kind of the Wyoming state cryptid. Goes along with the Way Out West paranormal side as well. So yeah, super excited that we get this opportunity to, revamp the channel and yeah, just keep with us. It's gonna be the same content, just cooler graphics.
All right. There we go. So when you see it over on Facebook, it's not something that you didn't just follow and you're not sure. It's us. You're going to see our happy little faces up there on the header, just like we always do. All that rebranding will be done over the next few hours. And, thank you guys for supporting us and watching.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Everyone, thanks and have a good night.
See y'all next week.
The Paranomalies podcast would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research and Twinkle Twinkle Little Store for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal. On YouTube, we bring you investigations and all sorts of chilling adventures involving the Way Out West crew. On Facebook, you can join our growing community of fellow paranormal lovers for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more. You can catch all of our episodes of Paranomalies available on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it just might be closer than you think.